Welcome, everyone. I am Lisa Betz-Marquez, and this is Lisa and Friends, a new talk show where we will discuss fun, interesting topics that are full of spirit. And I'm so excited to welcome you and introduce you to my guest this evening. Lorie Reeh is an animal communicator, and she has had a gift for communicating with animals ever since she was a little girl. And this communication, it happens telepathically, intuitively, and her gift allows her to hear, feel, and see what the pet wants to communicate. And she can help people to listen and better understand their pet and strengthen the connection between them. And some of the ways that Lorie can help is to ask your pet how they feel about perhaps adding another pet to the family. You can get some information about behavioral and dietary issues. And Lorie has done a lot of work in rescuing lost or distressed animals. And she's also done work helping owners to reconnect with their animals who have passed away. So we have a full show tonight. Welcome, Lorie. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Lorie, tell all of us a little bit about how you first learned that you had this gift with animals.
Well, it wasn't an aha moment. I have always been just like I am now. I heard the animals, I felt the animals, I was aware of different things around me, and at a certain age, I realized that not everybody else did. I thought when I was very little that everybody heard what I heard. And then later on, I would, say, "Didn't you hear that?" And they would think I was kind of wacky. And so the older I got, the more I realized that not everybody does hear the things that I hear.
And so what was it like to discover that? And how did you realize that other people don't have this ability?
Well, just because if we were in a room and we heard a speaker and I would turn to you and say, "Did you hear what the speaker said?" And you'd say, "Well, of course," but they wouldn't hear it. So that's how I realized that not everybody was getting it. And there was a stage in my life where I kind of kept it to myself, your teenage years and the time when you want to be cool and be like everybody else. And I wasn't like everybody else. So I kind of kept it to myself. And then a little later in life, it actually became interesting when that whole cool stage goes away, and I was able to share it with friends and family, and they would ask me to help. And so that's when I went from, it's always been there, but I kind of hushed it for a while and just used it in my own personal life. And now I'll share it with anybody that is interested.
And do you ever deal with people who are skeptical?
Oh, of course.
How do you do that?
It's kind of, it's an unusual thing. It's not mainstream yet. I'd like to see it happen someday, that it was mainstream. But of course, people think, that maybe I'm a flake. And so everybody's entitled to an opinion, of course. And if they want to ask me, they can either think, "Well, that was really cool and it worked great," or maybe they still will be skeptical. But I have had a lot of people change their mind about whether it's real or not, just by, talking with their animals and have them. My husband, for one, he had his doubts in the beginning, but he's a believer now.
Well, he would have to be now, wouldn't he?
There's been too many things that came to light that he believes it now.
That's great. Now, tell me, are there any scientific studies or, there are those people out there that just really need to have data and scientific proof that things like this in that esoteric world of spirit, they just need to know if there's some way to prove what's going on. Do you have any information like that?
There have been a lot of scientific studies that prove that this is real. My teacher, Maya Kincaid, recently made a movie about it, and there's a lot of scientific information in that movie. I'm not sure if have a way to share that tonight, but
we will actually. The movie is happening tomorrow. There's an online screening, and it's an $11 ticket, and it's all about animal communication, and it benefits. Is it wolves?
it's called Plan B. It benefits saving the wolves.
Fantastic. And so I have actually shared the website and information about the movie that's taking place tomorrow on my page, my profile at for Lisa Betz-Marquez on Facebook, and we are live on Facebook right now. So if you have any questions, you can go to that link on my page and see the information there. And I'm looking forward to tuning in myself, because I find this to be a really fascinating topic, and I'm so excited to ask you more questions. So can you just give us a little bit of, how do you go about communicating with these animals? What's your process?
When somebody has a request and they want me to find out a specific answers from a specific animal, I need to go somewhere quiet, away from the hustle and bustle of life, and just kind of shut my own worries and thoughts and things down. And I just try to connect with the animal. I ask them whatever the person wants to know. And sometimes the answers flow freely, sometimes not so much. And it's exactly like talking to people. You are just simply having a conversation. So I might ask you, how's your day going? And you might say, fine. Or you might say, oh my gosh, I spilled my coffee and then my car had a flat tire and this happened and that happened. You might have a lot to say, or you might just say, fine. And so animals are the same way.
So when you say you ask them, what do you mean exactly? I mean, you're not in the room with the animal. You're not necessarily doing a Zoom with the animal. And speaking of animals, Bootsy has decided to join us. The only time that I thought it would be okay to let the animals be free in this room. You say you ask them. Do you ask them in a picture? Do you ask them in like a sending of a thought, or how do you do it?
I'd say it's more a sending of a thought, but I can actually ask them a vocal question. I can say, what was your cat's name?
Bootsy.
Bootsy? I could say, Bootsy, how is your day going? Or I usually I don't vocalize it. I just think a thought.
Okay.
And then I might get a feeling, I might get actual words, I might get pictures, I might get maybe he's very afraid, and then I get like, all of a sudden I feel afraid. So a lot of times it's just a feeling, or maybe he's in the bathroom where someone's taking a shower and I feel humidity. Different things like that. I never know what I'm going to get. It's not always the same.
Interesting.
And then sometimes they don't have much to say at all, depending on the animal's personality and what's going on with them at that time.
Mm-hmm. I had a cat it was after my father passed away, and I had really bonded with this cat, and we got him when my dad was dying, and he was just a baby, a little kitten, and he would get so upset when I left him for a week or two or however long. I'd always have somebody come and look in, but he would be so standoffish with me when I got home. For days and days, he would just not even be friendly. And one day I was flying home, and it occurred to me to just close my eyes and imagine his third eye, the little spot right here between his, on his forehead. And I just kind of imagined that spot, and I'd see his eyes, and I just sent him the emotional feeling of excitement that I couldn't wait to see him. And I told him I was going to be home soon, and I was sorry I was gone for so long, but I can't wait to see him. And that's all I did. And when I got home, the first moment I walked in the door, he was happy, excited, he was joyful, and he never did the cold shoulder bit. And I was just like, wow. And so I did that every time, and he never got that way again. And I try to tell people about it. I try to tell other people about that trick. It was kind of like a trick, and a lot of people are just like, yeah, whatever, Lisa, whatever. But I bet you that you would consider that to be animal communication, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. That is exactly what animal communication is.
Yeah, cool. And I never tried to go beyond that. I never did anything more than just tell him because I didn't want him to be mad at me. So
Yeah. That's all he needed to know, is that you didn't go away because you were upset with him. You had to go for whatever reason and you were coming home, and that's all it took. Then he knew it was all okay. Just think of the hours while they're home alone, they probably think of all kinds of things like, oh no, she doesn't love me anymore. So just the fact that you knew you did and you were coming back, then that calmed him.
well, and it's interesting, you call it animal communication, and you know, for all of you who are listening, Lorie helped us with a problem with one of our horses, and it's so interesting how humans just do their thing, and they don't consider that the animal might need to know or understand what's happening. And if they don't, then it's like this, it's like any relationship. If there's no closure, or if there's no understanding of why something's happening, then there's some heartbreak, or there's some distancing, or not trusting, that happens. And so, in our case, the horse, belongs to someone else, and they moved to across the state, and we're unable to take the horse along, and so we're just caretakers, and she and I had a wonderful friendship, this horse, and after her owner went across the state, she was so unhappy, and her heart was really broken, and so she thought I made her owner leave. And she was mad at me, right, Lorie? Do you
Yep.
remember that? And
Yeah.
and it's just because nobody took the time to explain to her what's going on. And she's been a lot better since then.
Good.
So Lorie, will you tell us a little bit about, some of your adventures with animal communication? Well, before you do, I want to ask another question. Um, do you notice similarities among species? So like, are birds kind of in a certain way, or horses a certain kind of way, or energy, cats are one way, dogs are kind of another way? Like, do you notice any kind of similar qualities, I guess, among the species?
No, I don't see a lot of difference. A little robin can speak to me just as loud as an elephant. It's not species. There's no difference in species how you talk to them. You might have a shy little elephant that's just very meek and doesn't have much to say, and you might have an insect that's just yelling at the top of his lungs because he has a lot to say.
Wow. Do they have attitudes? Like, I mean, do they think that we're like the children in the family, and that they're the ones that are trying to school us along and teach us how to be?
They absolutely have attitudes, and I do believe they know that they're very wise, and they also know that they're in tune to the world better than we are. They know that we get distracted and get all caught up in our everyday stuff, and they don't do that. They don't get all caught up in, did somebody pay the electric bill, and who's got the oil change in the car. They don't get caught up in that stuff. They're just living in the moment, but they do know that we do, and so sometimes they just wish we would reground and slow down and think about the moment.
What do they see their role as? And I suppose it might be different, obviously a dog that's part of the family versus the meadowlark on the prairie that we listen to in the mornings. Do you notice that they have a mission, like humans can have a mission?
Absolutely, that's the word I was going to use. Is I think each and every one of them knows they have a mission, and they came here to accomplish something, maybe teach us something, maybe comfort us through a hard time, but they each seem to know that they have a mission.
Hmm. Can you tell me, I just want to know, why do the birds sing? Do they have, does their singing do something like make the sun rise, or you know what I mean? I mean, that sounds a little mystical, I know, but why do they sing?
I think that's part of their communication, and I think that that's one gift they give to the world. Is we love to hear the birds sing. It makes us happier. It makes the world pull together a little bit, and I think that's part of the reason they sing. Is that makes our day better. I can't imagine going out and never hearing a bird sing again. All that silence would just be awful. And I think they know that they brighten up our day, but I think they probably also communicate with each other through their singing.
Hmm.
not necessarily a bird expert, but I do believe there's both reasons.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Okay, well, tell us, if you would, just about a couple of the animals that you've been able to communicate with, and some of your favorites, or perhaps really significant interaction that helped an animal and an owner in a really important way. Can you think back to some of those types of experiences?
Um, there have been so many. One of my friends contacted me recently. She has a barrel racing horse, and she called me early one morning, was very upset because the horse was lame, and she had a big event that weekend, a big barrel race that she was planning to go to. And she wanted to know how bad the horse was hurt, if he could race, where he was hurt, how he got hurt. And so I hung up the phone with her, took a few minutes and talked to her horse, and was able to call her back and tell her how he got hurt, where he was hurting, and that he was not able to race that weekend, that he wouldn't be able to run barrels that weekend, but that he just needed some time. And that turned out later in the day, he got swelling in the spot where I said he hurt. And when he told me how he hurt, it hurt on my body in the same place. The horse was hurt in the hip, and it hurt in my hip. Not the rest of the day or anything, but I felt it when I asked him, and I told her where it hurt. And then, I mean, it made me smile later in the day when she said some swelling developed right where I said it was.
Sure.
And when he told her how it happened, it was good to know that someone didn't hurt him, or one of the other horses didn't hurt him. He just slipped on the wet grass. And he was able to recover after that weekend and go back and barrel race again and be just fine. So
Hmm.
that was a really good one for me. She's a friend of mine, and I really wanted to help her out, and I'm glad I was able to help the horse out, that he didn't have to go through a bunch of medical tests or anything. He was just given a little time and he got better.
Oh gosh, not having to pay a bunch of medical tests is probably really nice for your friend too.
Yeah, I'm certainly not a veterinarian, and I
Of course.
definitely never advise against going to one, but this particular time, just knowing what happened, she was comfortable with giving him a little time, and he did get better pretty fast. So that was nice.
Sure. So what kind of animals have you worked with that are a little different? We know cats, dogs, birds, I'm curious if you've ever spoken with a snake or anything really different, than a traditional type of pet or animal companion.
Sure, I do raptor rescue, and so I speak to the raptors a lot to help calm them because they're a wild animal and they're not used to being handled by humans, but we have to feed them and doctor them and take care of them. And so I speak to them to tell them what's going on and why and what's going to happen next, and that seems to help. I once rescued a baby owl by talking to it. I don't know if you want to hear that story right now, but it's
Sure. I love owls.
but there was a nest of great horned owls in a tree, and the tree was cut down for road construction. And someone found the first baby owl and brought it to us. And somebody had seen the nest and knew there were 3 babies in the nest at the time the tree was cut down. So we went out and looked, and we found the other owl close to where the first owl was found, but we still knew there was one more owl. And so we looked and looked and looked, and I I was walking all over looking for it, and there were several of us. And I thought, well, Lorie, why don't you just ask it where it is? And so I did. I just stopped and I asked the owl, "Where are you? Can you lead me to you so I can help you?" And I just quit thinking and started walking where I felt like the owl was leading me to. And I walked over a hill, away from the site where the first owls were found. And there was a little pond with a tree growing right out of the middle of it. And the owl was sitting on a branch in the tree in the middle of the water. And so when I saw it, I told it I was there to help it. I wasn't going to hurt it. And I waded out in the water, and I was able to get the owl. Actually, he jumped out of the branch into the water, which made it easier for me to catch him. And we got him back to rescue, and he was rehabbed and later released. So the owl actually helped me find him, because where he was, none of us could have seen that tree. It was completely out of sight, and it was just a pasture with no trees at all. So we were looking on the ground, and he had found a tree and was in the tree, and that was pretty neat. So
Wow.
yeah, I do talk to wild animals and raptors and fish. I have a koi pond, and I talk to my fish. And I talk to the ducks, and I talk to all the animals and even insects.
So beyond, how is your day, and do you like the temperature of the pond, and, are you getting enough to eat, and like beyond those types of conversations, do you ever ask them about like their philosophical take on life?
Absolutely. And the more I do this, the more I know that their answers are very wise. That when you ask them a question, sometimes you'll just be blown away with not only how important the answer is, but how simple it is and how hard we have made it seem when the answer is usually not as hard as we try to make it.
Can you remember any messages that you've received that blew your mind?
Oh my gosh, we could go on all night long. Some of the most important messages I've learned are, I had a cat named Cashmere. That's who I named my business after. And he was a very, very special cat. And communication is why I found him in the first place. He was a rescue cat. And I lost him to cancer just over a year ago. But that cat taught me all my life to live in the moment, to love what you have, to not want what you don't have. And in the last few years of his life, he taught me that you don't have to be afraid to die, and that you don't, his particular choice was to go with homeopathic treatment. And I listened to him, and the conventional veterinarians told me he had 7 weeks to live. And we did not go that route. We went through homeopathy, and I had him another year and 9 months. And his year and 9 months was very good. He only declined in the last 2 weeks of that. So I'm glad I listened to him, because I got to enjoy him a lot longer, and he didn't have to have chemo and radiation and multiple surgeries and all that stuff. And he didn't want that. And I honored his wishes because I heard him. And so that was a very educational time for me to have that cat. He appeared to us in the rainy grass. He just seemed like he came out of nowhere. And I stopped and opened the door, and he came and jumped in the car. And we spent 2 hours looking for his owners. He was wet, and he had all of his whiskers and his eyelashes cut off.
Oh.
And that's very uncomfortable for a cat. Their whiskers are very sensitive. We looked and looked and looked and looked, and no one ever claimed him. The neighbor said, yeah, he's just around here. We don't think anybody owns him. So we brought him home, and we had him for, I think, 11 years. And he was very special, and he taught us a lot. But the illness, the cancer that eventually took his life, he taught me even more through that stage than all the years that he was super healthy and happy. But he was an awesome animal.
Wow.
He still talks to me, by the way. He's with me in spirit, and when I need advice, he's a very wise one that I go to.
Aw, that is really beautiful. Well, so you did talk about the owl. So did you ever talk to a snake? I'm just curious.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not afraid of snakes. I like snakes, and I have rescued quite a few bull snakes from people who don't like them. My neighbor didn't like them at one time. She's not living here anymore. And I've even a snake on the road, I'll try to talk to them to tell them to get off the road so they don't get run over. And sure, I talk to snakes. Yeah.
What do they have to say? Do they have any wisdom for us?
Do they have what?
Any wisdom for us?
Oh, every single animal has wisdom. And I don't know that I can say in general what they have to say. I think all the animals tell us to just stop thinking so much and just be and just experience, and that the answers are usually right there. You know, that they're there for us if we just quiet down and listen to them.
Yep. Well, Lorie, are you ready to take some questions? Oh, no, before we take questions, big question, very important. What would you tell someone who has a pet and that they would like to communicate with? How would they start? What are the steps?
It's exactly like you talk to your cat when you're coming home from traveling. You just talk to them. You just think in your mind whatever you want to say. If you want to say to them, I'll be home in an hour, and then we'll have some cuddle time, or if you want to say to them, I just assume you didn't sleep on my bed, or whatever it is you have to say, you think it in your mind, you think about that animal and what you have to say to them, but you also have to do it with respect, that they're not, that they have a thought in mind too, that they might have something to say back. So it's not about us telling them, don't want you to bark when the UPS man comes or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more, we need to listen also.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just very natural to me, but I think anybody can do it. And I think if you, especially if you love your animal and you're connected to your animal and you share your life with your animal, that you'll be able to hear their answers right away. I think the hardest part is convincing yourself you do. Like, we want to think, oh, that's crazy, my cat can't talk. And I think if once you put that away and don't try to make it like that anymore, and you just accept that, sure, they can talk to me, they have things to tell me, and you just let it flow into your mind, it comes easy.
I had a friend back in my theater days who told this wonderful story about how she was sleeping and she was having a dream that she was talking to her cat, and she was having a whole conversation, and the cat was just really kind of annoyed with her because Lila said, "Oh my gosh, Samson, you're talking to me." And Samson said, "I always talk to you, but you never listen." And she was like, "Oh," and then she woke up and her cat was right there staring at her.
I believe that completely.
I always thought that was the greatest story. So, I had no trouble talking to Tommy or to any of my other cats or dogs, but I never have heard their voices back. And so that maybe you could help us or help me. How do you receive their messages back? What do you do, or what can you do?
So I'd say if you're not receiving their message back, maybe you already have your mind made up. So you might ask them a question, but somewhere in your mind you think you know the answer, and that might be blocking the communication. So you just need to open your mind, like kind of like if you've never met them before, like they're a complete stranger, and you're going to ask them, so what do you like to eat? And instead of knowing they like, you don't like that, and they always turn their nose up at this, just start over like you've never fed them before and you want to know what they want to eat. And see what you get back that way. Because I think sometimes we have our mind already made up and we ask them a question and that blocks it, that blocks what they have to say. Or maybe they even think, well, Lisa, you already think you know the answer, so why would I tell you? We need to put that away, what we think we know, and just open it up and let them tell us what we really don't know.
Interesting. Maybe that's more about me than anything else. Huh.
I do think that's part of the problem when people think they can't hear the animals is they think they already know the answer.
How interesting. Humans
And
just
if you
really think that they know it all, don't they?
yeah. The animals are so very wise that if they think you're sincere and they know you're open to actually hear what they have to say, I think they'll always have something to say.
Yeah.
So of course, if you're skeptical, not you personally, but if someone's skeptical and they say, okay, Fido, like, do you want to go for a walk or don't you? But they're so skeptical that Fido might not even answer at all. He says, well, no, Fido might think, well, whatever I say, you're not going to believe me anyway.
Yeah. So don't waste my time, right?
Yeah, open our mind, open our heart, and put away any of those feelings that might get in the way so you actually can hear them.
Okay. Well, let's take some questions. At this point, I'd like to open it up to anyone that's in the room here. I've just opened up a chat window, and I know that Lisa is here, and Jasmine, and Joanne, and let's see, Tandon. Yes. So if anyone has a question, would you type it in to the chat window there? Or you can, I believe you can raise your hand. And if you do that, then I can even open up your video so that, or unmute you so that you could ask your question to Lorie. That might be the best way. So Lisa, I know you have a question, so I'm gonna just unmute you, Lisa. Lisa's an old friend of mine from grade school days. And Lisa, you are live and we can hear you now, I believe. So
Great.
Yeah, ask Lorie your question.
Hi, Lorie. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Lisa. It's nice to hear from you too.
Yeah. I do have a personal question. I recently rescued a young feral cat, and I've had her now for about 2 months. And she's coming into our family of, I have a 21-year-old cat, and his name is Elvis, and he has accepted the new cat easily. My dog, I call him the cat whisperer. He really helped me take her, to let her know that she is welcome here and she didn't have to be feral any longer. She's about, I'm guessing, 6 months old, 6 to 8 months. And the difficult thing that I'm experiencing right now is my 1-year-old cat that we had rescued as a kitten. Chloe has a lot of masculine energy and she wants to rumble. And the new cat, which we've named Katniss, she is a very sweet, calm spirit. She's willing to submit, but I'm scared to let them fight it out, so to say. And I'm wondering, what would you recommend? Because I'm doing everything by keeping them separate, but they can see each other. One cat stays in a big, large dog kennel, and the other cat can run around. Because once Chloe did touch her, she scratched her face pretty good. And I didn't want her to get injured or have emotional, stunting because of that.
Mm-hmm. So are you, is Chloe in the cage or is Chloe out loose?
Yeah,
And,
Chloe is in the cage right now.
and Katniss is out loose.
And Katniss is right next to me, just to the left of me. And she can fall asleep. She's calm. She's aware of Chloe. And Chloe thinks she needs to hunt her. It's just really a masculine type of energy, even though she's a female. Or is it a female thing? I'm not sure.
Have you tried taking turns putting Katniss in the cage and letting Chloe be loose?
I do that all the time.
Okay, that's good. That way we don't have just one feeling like they're punished, in a cage.
Yeah.
And how long have they been able to smell and look at each other?
2 months.
Okay. Well, let's see. Let's ask Chloe how she feels about this new cat.
Okay.
And I want you to too. I want you to think, and even Lisa, everybody think about what does Chloe have to say to any of us, and then let's if we have anything to share, let's share it, and I'll see what I can get from her, and we'll see what we can come up with for an answer. I'm going to take just a minute to get quiet and ask Chloe how she feels about this new cat named Katniss. Okay, so what I'm hearing from Chloe is that she did not see any reason in the world that we needed another cat. She felt like things were just fine the way they were, and she's got her feathers ruffled a bit about this. She feels like her space has been invaded some. And I would like to hear, does anybody else have anything so far that they've heard from Chloe?
Let me just unmute everyone. Everyone is unmuted now, so if someone has something to say, go ahead and speak, and we'll know who you are.
Hi, this is Tandem. I heard, "Who the hell do you think you are?" That's my mom.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
We repeat what we hear, so language is accepted.
I got an image of Katniss as the baby. And so Chloe's no longer the baby. Mm-hmm.
This is Joanne. I got an image of Chloe being really angry.
Mm-hmm.
Did she tell you what she's angry about?
No, I just feel her intense anger.
Okay.
I feel that since we rescued Chloe at about 2 to 3 weeks of age, she came off the streets of Phoenix in the heat of summer. And I see her displaying like an ancestral energy of living on the streets.
That's how she survived, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's all take a moment, everybody here, and let's tell Chloe that there is room for everybody and that Katniss also needs to be rescued, just like Chloe did once, and that there'll be enough love and enough food and enough attention to go around for everybody, that no one will be shorted, and that it's okay to share. She doesn't have to have this powerful protection of her mom. And let's see if we can all say something to Chloe and help her relax a little bit about this. Does anybody feel like she's listening, or does she have anything to say back?
I feel like she's listening and thinking.
I feel her still to be pretty resistant, but listening.
Mm-hmm.
How about everybody else?
Yeah, I feel like it's going to take a little bit of conversation, and reinforced conversation, before she'll really accept that it's true. You know,
Yeah.
she's not sure she believes it.
Well, and I always try to help people think about, if I were to choose you a new roommate, and I went out and I said, okay, Lisa, this is going to be your new roommate, and you're going to like her, and that's how it is. And you'd be like, oh, wait,
Right.
I don't even have any say in this? It would take a while for you to learn to share the bathroom and the mirror and the kitchen and different things. You know, you're not just going to probably hug and be all happy from day one. So I think cats are very similar. We choose their roommates for them, and a lot of times we don't even ask for their opinion. Now, when I get a new pet, I try to ask all my animals, so how do you feel about this new pet coming into my home, or having another cat or dog or whatever? And it really has helped them be accepted by asking them what they think. So since Chloe wasn't asked, or I assume she wasn't asked, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so she wasn't asked for her opinion, so she feels a little bit, you know, like, hey, wait a minute, I was here first and I don't even have a say in this.
Yeah.
So how about if we ask her, let's ask her, can you accept Katniss? Can you accept that she also needs rescued like you did once, and she was in a hardship situation where she needs to have a home too? And let's see if she can warm up to the idea of, because I feel like she understands that Katniss also needs the help that she needed once. It will help her appreciate her more.
Can we ask her to maybe take her under her wing, or would that be asking too much?
I feel from her right now like that's asking too much, that just she's considering accepting her, but not ready to take her under her wing yet. That's a little bit too much, too fast, I feel.
Okay.
Does anybody?
I noticed today, Katniss was trying to like playfully play with my 21-year-old cat. And I thought, oh, Katniss, you're going to love to play with Chloe just like that. That was my whole thinking, was why I wanted to take in Katniss, was because I want Chloe to be able to play, you know, the younger cat plays with, you know, the younger cat rather than roughing up my 21-year-old, you know. Yeah.
So another thing you can do is envision in your mind them playing. Think about Chloe's favorite toy and her showing Katniss how to play with it, because sometimes feral cats don't even know how to play. We actually have to do it.
Right.
So it's possible that you can have Chloe can be the, like we were saying, take her under her wing, like she can be the leader and show Katniss how to play with the toy.
Okay.
And actually envision them playing and see how it looks. If it feels like it's a good thing, go ahead and think about it for a while, because I believe that will go into both of their minds if it's in your mind and you're thinking it.
Okay.
I have a little experience with a feral cat and another cat. And what worked for me was to shower the Chloe with extra. Just say, you know, mom loves you. You have nothing to worry about. I would never replace you. Like maybe she's thinking like, this baby comes in. Am I getting replaced? Or maybe it is just she might be scared also, you know, of this new younger kitten. Maybe she thinks the new kitten will beat her up or something.
That's very good. And then somebody said they felt like she wanted to be the baby, and now she's not the baby anymore. So I think that's very important, Tandem, to reassure her and shower her because she was there first, and make sure she knows she's not going to get bumped out of that position.
Right.
Good.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for your question. Is there anything else you wanted to ask Lorie before you go, or before we move on to a new question, I mean?
No, I thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your insight.
I think you're doing great, Lisa, by trading them out, the kennels back and forth. And you might try playing with the cat that's outside and kind of, you know, lure them toward the kennel and see if maybe the one that's inside will bat it, and see if you can start to encourage them to play.
Well, fantastic. While we're all here then unmuted, let's have another question. Is there someone else that would like to ask Lorie a question?
Yes, this is Joanne.
Hey, hi, Joanne.
Hi. So just a little background. We had a standard poodle that we got, and she became a pet therapy dog and started pet therapy programs, was on TV, was just like bigger than life. And her and I bonded like incredibly. And then 2 years later, we got another standard poodle, a guy, and he was just sweet, but not into that kind of thing, but we loved him anyway. And they got along. He looked for her to like, what do I do? What do I do? And then when my female, Heidi, who was my soulmate, I swear we were, she was getting older and failing like at 15. So we adopted this little toy poodle who was found running around in Mexico, Tijuana, and was had some genetic issues with her back legs, and because of her starvation had cataracts and whatnot. And we took the dogs to meet her before we adopted her, and they seemed to be fine. So we brought her home, and she really bonded with my female, almost to the point where it was like she was imparting knowledge from her to her. And 6 months later, my female had to cross over the Rainbow Bridge, which was just horrible for me. She was 15 and a half. But anyway, a few months ago, our male had to go too. And she never bonded with him the same way. But moral of the story is she's just so intuitive and just so bright, but she has these night terrors. She seems to wake up, and this is from the time we got her. She'll wake up in the middle of the night and like, rah, 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 and, you know, like try to bite at something, but she only has like 7 teeth left. So she's 5 years old, but we had her for 3 years now. And she still has these night terrors. I would love to know, and she is intuitive with me as my female was. That was the pet therapy dog. We're just like joined at the hip, so to speak. And I feel that we communicate with each other. But I would love to know what these night terrors are, if that's what they are, and what we could do to help her, because it's not every night, but it's most nights. And it's not necessarily when you move, but it could be. And she just, you know, I think she has dreams of living in the streets and not being able to sleep well. I don't know. And I'd love to know what it is and what we could do. Her name is Bella, and she's here with me right now.
Okay, well, hi, Bella.
Bella.
And hi, Joanne. So let's ask Bella what happened and what these are about, and if there's anything we can do to help her. I'm just going to take a moment and get to know her and ask her if she has anything to tell me about it. And everybody else can too. I still think it's great because several of us will maybe get something different. We could put the puzzle together and get more answers. So feel free to also ask her. So I experience Bella right now is very comfortable and confident that she's not scared right now. Right this minute, she feels like she's okay. She knows she's okay. She likes that we're talking to her. She's enjoying this. So yeah, when she's awake, she knows she's safe, but when she sleeps, and she's telling me it's like she goes back to before being rescued. That she can't figure out what's real and what isn't real until she comes all the way awake and she looks around and then she knows she's okay again. But these dreams are coming, and I'm asking her what she was afraid of. She says that she was afraid there were other dogs that were after her. And she said people were mean to her too, that sometimes she's afraid of people. And she said sometimes the dreams are about other dogs and sometimes they're about people. Do you have something, Tandem, and we'll keep going with her?
I actually feel she kind of similar. She feels like she's safe. And when she transitions between a dream and being at home, that's where she's getting startled. I don't really feel a lot of fear. Some residual fear, like maybe she was trying to find a safe place to sleep. And as you can imagine, it would be really terrifying to be sleeping under a park bench and you heard something and you thought, am I going to get attacked? What's going on? So maybe a little residual of that, but I think she's so comfortable that she's actually dreaming, and she may be dreaming of your past dogs. And it's a hard reality to come back from visiting your friends back to Earth.
Look how pretty she is.
When we got her, she was bald and spots and emaciated and half of her normal body weight. So yeah, she's come a long way.
Bella, you're a beautiful girl.
I got a visual of her eyes that she doesn't see very well. So it makes her more nervous and, feeling susceptible because she can't clearly see. So that's what I saw.
And that's true. She has cataracts that are severe due to her severe malnutrition before we got her. And our veterinarian said that just some light gets through, but like she has her bowl of water in a certain place and we can't move it. And even then she has trouble finding things, but yeah, you're right.
Very good. Yeah. Anybody else getting anything from her?
I just picked up a real sweetness. I think some of you might have a little more skill with this, but I'm picking up her sweetness. So.
I tell her she's sweetness itself. She is,
Yeah,
truly.
She is.
That's what I call her, sweetness herself.
She's very grateful, that's for sure.
Oh, good.
I'll try to send her a bubble of love and light to protect her and let her know that she can sleep soundly, that she will be safe the rest of her life with you. And let's send this love out to her and this compassion that we feel bad for the things that she did go through, but they're over with now. They'll never ever come back again. No. And let's send that message to her that you're safe, you're in a bubble of care and love, that you won't ever have to fear for your life or your food again.
Thank you.
Yeah. What a pretty girl.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great idea to tell her that every night when you go to bed. Say, Bella, you'll be safe. We promise you nothing will happen. We're all right here. And if it is the vision, you know, if she wakes up afraid, maybe if you hear her rustle, you can say something right away so she knows you're close by. I'm sure you probably
We
do.
do that. We'll put our hand on her and say, "It's okay, Bella," and she immediately stops it, like turns it off.
Good, good. So she can at least settle down right away. That's very good.
She does, and we all go back to sleep.
Well, let's all just tell her she's loved and she's safe, and those terrible days are behind her, and that we just hope that she can let this go the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Joanne.
Yes.
Good to see you. So yeah, I opened the videos up because there's a small group and I think it's working really well for us to see each other. So thanks for bearing with me as I get used to this. Is there someone else that would like to ask a question?
I would like to ask a question if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay, so this last week, my feral kitty Winter has been waking me up in the middle of the night, and not only just waking me up, but kind of scaring the heck out of me because she will be maybe like 4 inches from my face and doesn't have a very happy look on her face. So I'm wondering what happened, that anybody feels what happened. Like, it seems like she's mad at me or something.
Okay, well, let's ask Winter if she can tell us what's going on. So I happen to be friends with Tandem, and I know that Winter has recently lost that one of her other cats went to the Rainbow Bridge recently, not real recently, but pretty recently. And even though Winter and this cat weren't necessarily the best of friends, I'm feeling from Winter that she's kind of confused of where Sylvia is. So does anybody else hear anything from Winter?
I was feeling like she was wanting information, but I didn't know enough about it, that she was just wanting an answer.
Uh-huh. How about you, Tandem? What do you hear from Winter?
Who was that?
You, Tandem, I was wondering what you're hearing from her. Are you completely baffled, or do you feel anything from her?
I feel like she wants more attention, but I don't feel that I've neglected her lately.
Right.
So I don't know. She just seems so like such a snotty little look on her face at night. When I wake up, it's really scary because I don't know how long she's been. It's like she's stalking me or something. Like I just keep thinking she's going to attack my face or something.
Well, I just got something really strong from Winter I'll share, and we can always take it or leave it. But Winter, let me think how to say this exactly. She knows how much you're missing Sylvia, and that's kind of upsetting her. She feels like she wants to be there for you, and she wants you to like put your whole self into her, which I know you're not neglecting her at all. She has a wonderful life. But somehow she's upset about how you're feeling about Sylvia being gone. And so
I can see that.
Yeah. So I don't know how to word it exactly. She's just telling me that, hey, I'm kind of, it sounds cold, but kind of like, get over it. I'm still here. Like, then that's kind of Winter's personality too, is like.
That's totally her personality. And I've told her that she's my top girl now. And in the past, you know, it was Sylvia because she was my older girl. I had her forever. And now Winter's my top girl, but I still am missing Sylvia. So,
Sure.
you know, she's my one and only kitty right now. And I really try to make a point to let her know she's my girl now.
So let's all send Winter the message that Sylvia was with Tandem for a long, long time. Tandem rescued her many years ago, and that Sylvia is very important to Tandem, and that Sylvia's spirit is still there with Tandem and Winter. And let's reassure Winter that it's okay. Tandem needs some time to get through this. It's not, I mean, I'm getting from Winter that I'm still here. Let's go on. Like, she's just ready for it to be over and move on. And we need to, let's all tell Winter that it's going to take a little time. That even though to Winter it's all good, it's not all good. Tandem has a lot of feelings to work through.
She's meowing right now.
Is she? She likes talking to us.
Yeah.
How about, does anybody else hear anything from Winter?
Yeah, I got she's a little confused, and that she's just kind of like, get over it. Like, just move on, like, because we as humans, we hang on to so much, we're so much of the physical body, but their spirit is free. And I don't know if you've ever had a visit from your previous pets, but I've experienced that before, where I've been on my bed and I felt an animal walk on my bed. So I know that, that they can come visit. And us humans, we hang on to so much emotion and sadness and the loss, rather than rejoicing in the crossing over into the spirit world. So I think it's us that kind of hangs on, and she's just like, why are you so confused? Yeah.
That's
That
very good.
sounds on.
Well, they do live in the moment. And so for an animal, when another animal passes, they don't grieve for the length of time we do usually. And maybe sometimes when they're together for many years, they do. But Tandem Winter and Sylvia didn't know each other for that long, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
And they never did have a super duper wonderful bond. They kind of tolerated each other. And so Winter's living in the moment. She's like, what's the big deal? Like, let's just go on. And that's exactly what I got from her too, is kind of a get over it in a really kind of nasty way. And so I'd really like to send the message to Winter that that's not appropriate, that Tandem doesn't need to just get over it. Needs to accept what Tandem's going through. And I'm also feeling, I'm feeling a presence from Sylvia also.
Mm-hmm.
And that Sylvia also wants Winter to just slow down and let's work through this. So let's all send Winter that message that, let Tandem work through her feelings, and yeah, you're the number one girl now, and it'll be okay, but let's don't push it. Yeah. I'd like to tell them, like, just like I think Lisa said, that we do hang on to things, and most of us are somewhat afraid of death. It's not the same for us as it is for animals. Animals don't fear death. They have a survival instinct, but they don't just sit around and worry about what if I die like sometimes we do.
Right.
And so that's why it's easier for them when one passes. They know it's natural. They know that's what happens. They accept that's what happens. Whether an animal is old or young or whatever happens, that other animals just know for some reason this was meant to be. And they accept and they move on. So they get kind of confused when we don't. They think, what are you like crying still 2 years later over this animal that's gone? Like, he's been gone for 2 years. Let's move on. And so let's tell Winter that people are different and that we aren't as easy. We don't understand as easily what happens, and that it's natural and that it's okay. We have to go through a different kind of grieving process than they do. And let's see if Winter can back off a little bit and let you work through things, Tandem.
I hope so.
So be patient with each other, and Tandem, be open to what Winter has to say, and we're hoping that Winter is open to what we have to tell her, and also what Sylvia has to say, because she was a very, very wise girl, and she might have some ideas too about how to get through this time. Does that feel like it could help some?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Sure.
Yeah, she just looked like she was gonna claw my face off, and I couldn't figure out what she was upset about.
Do you think this could be it, or do you think maybe it's something else?
I feel like it could be this, but I'm not 100% sure yet.
Mhm.
I think she's also upset that I don't feed her every time she wants food. And so she's kind of pissy about that right now. Sorry, she's kind of persnickety about that right now. Um, so it could be a combination of both. So I'm gonna talk to her some more and let her know, it's not like Sylvia was more important than you. She was just my old girl, and you were my new girl, and it takes time for good stuff to happen.
Yeah. That sounds good.
Hmm.
Should we tell the story of how you and Winter got together?
Oh my goodness. You can tell it, Kay.
Would you like to hear it, Lisa?
Sure.
Of course.
So Tandem used to live in the same town that I lived in, and we met because of cats. And Winter was a feral cat that lived on the street that we both fed. And when Tandem moved away, was it been 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's 5 years.
5 years ago, Tandem moved away, clear across the country. She's in a different state now. And I continued to feed Winter. And Winter was always wanted to be a pet, but she seemed kind of wild. And so Tandem had lost another cat, Jezebel, and she was down to where she had just Sylvia. And she said, I only have one. I have room for Winter. So Winter came to live with Tandem. We met halfway across the country, and she took Winter home. So that's how she got to have her together.
Aw,
All the way from Nebraska to Washington.
how wonderful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
Plus, it got us to get to meet and see each other again.
Yes.
I wonder if Winter is aware of the Herculean effort that was made on her behalf, and if she knew that, if she could understand and process that she may not be so concerned about what's going on.
Right. And maybe I shouldn't tell her. Sometimes I remind her, I'm like, you're clear from Nebraska. Like I could have just went down the road to the shelter and got a cat. And I went and got you. You should feel lucky. But maybe she thinks I'm throwing it in her face. So I better.
I experience Winter as she just thinks she's all of it. Like she's center stage, all the lights are on her. She knows it's all about her. So that
really
whole
does.
Nebraska thing probably doesn't really matter because she knows it's all about her anyway.
What color is Winter? What does she look like?
Just tell us somebody just tell us, what do you think Winter looks like?
I think she's black and white.
Okay. Does anybody else have a sense of what she looks like?
Gray. I think she's
Gray?
tabby.
Tabby?
No, she's white and really long hair, like really fine, fluffy hair. She was in the background here a little bit ago, but
Like a princess.
We're off, Lisa.
Like a princess.
Dang it. I was 50%. I got the white part.
So what I'd like to tell everybody is this can happen. So let's say, for instance, you're going to put your profile up on a dating site. Are you going to say, I'm 59 and I have a lot of wrinkles and I'm a little overweight? Or are you going to say, yeah, I'm 5'9" and I'm like looking pretty good and like how are you going to present yourself? So Winter may have been telling you all exactly what you saw. She doesn't have to tell us the truth. Because if we met each other and we couldn't see each other, we might be able to describe ourselves entirely different than we actually are. So don't feel bad if you got a different color than white, because Winter may have told you that.
Interesting.
I just always think that's kind of interesting. If a
That
little
is.
corgi was going to put her profile up on a dating site, she might describe herself as a greyhound.
Yeah, I agree. I've experienced that before. Like they see themselves bigger than what they are sometimes.
Or more elegant maybe, or more classy, or whatever.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad if you didn't get that Winter was pure white, because they can do that. They don't have to be honest.
right, and she is super beautiful, but she doesn't act like it. So she's more of a jeans and t-shirt sort of gal, but she is wearing a ball gown.
She's got quite a personality.
Hilarious.
I have another question, Lorie.
Okay.
Cool.
I've heard that animals choose Like we choose to come to this time period, to this earth during this time as this body, this person. So they choose to come as a beast. And I've heard that if they get I don't know what the word is, the love and the care where they understand love, can they actually come back as a human? Have you ever heard anything? Does a beast stay a beast? Can a beast come back in the next life as a human if they received the knowing of love?
Well, of course, nobody can answer this, with 100%
What?
accuracy, but I do believe, yes, I believe that a beast can come back as a person. I believe a person can come back as a beast. I think a ladybug could be a giraffe. I think, oh, that was interesting. They both have spots. I believe that the largest animal could be the most meek person. I think they can come back into another living form any way they want to.
I've
But I
heard
think
that.
even more importantly, I think they will come back to fill their next mission. More than this, they say, okay, now I want to be a beautiful white cat. I think they know where their particular quality and personality is needed, and that's where they go.
So I heard something, Lorie, about this, that there was a blog I read where it was an animal communicator had shared that often they find that a person has they might have 6 cats in their lifetime, for instance, but it's the same spirit that keeps coming back and working. The relationship continues, and sometimes there's like not karma, but like unfinished business or hurts that you have to kind of work through in the next life, and you can keep working, with it. I mean, I wondered because my first cat, not my first cat, but one of my significant cats, the one that would get mad when I traveled, I made a bad choice, and he lived here with my mom for the last part of his life. And so he felt abandoned and was heartbroken. And I still feel guilty about it. And I wonder sometimes if the cat I have now isn't Tommy, and that's why he's like, I love you, I want you, I've had enough of you, leave me alone. You know what I mean? And so I wonder if you've ever encountered anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. I think that they come into our lives to teach us something. And if we don't learn it, they may have to come back into our lives again and teach us in a different way through a different form. So yeah, I do believe that.
Interesting.
We can always ask though, what's the cat you have now that you think might be Tommy reincarnated?
Bootsy. That's Bootsy.
Well, if let's ask Bootsy if he was once Tommy.
Okay. I'm not getting an answer.
That's not really unusual. Sometimes we're too close to our own animals to get an answer that easily. It might take more time and more practice with it. I get quicker answers from other people's animals than I do from my own sometimes. But it takes a little practice, and I think you will get an answer in time, but it's not a real surprise that you don't get one immediately. Does anybody else get anything right off?
I kind of felt like he's not Tommy, but he met with Tommy somewhere and is kind of like on Tommy's behalf.
That's interesting.
I just got the feeling. It's hard to put into words what I got, but it was almost like they met in the spirit world somewhere, somehow, and he's like, okay, I like her, but,
I think that's very good, and I think that does happen too. I think that they can draw on the education with Lisa in their lifetime and then move on from there. It could be because Tommy isn't exactly Tommy anymore. If it is his spirit, he's in a different body, so he's not exactly the same.
Right.
And so I think that would be very accurate that it's kind of part of Tommy. And I believe, of course, I have no way to prove any of this, but I believe that when an animal's reincarnated, that doesn't mean that exact same animal came back to live with you again. It means that the lessons that animal and you had, like one of you said, you'll pick up kind of like a show that you watch another one every day. I can't think of the word, series. Like a series, you will start over where you left off and move on from there.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what this blog was about. Was kind of saying that you sort of pick up the lesson, but the same spirit animal. Like, so it's like, hi, I'm your friend, but in a new body, and we're gonna pick up where we left off and keep learning together.
Yep, I think that very well could be. I sense that Tommy's the lessons you and Tommy had together are with you, and that he's still working through this new cat Bootsy to help you learn the things that you need to learn while you're here.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. So actually, before we go too much further, there's a person named Jasmine here who's not on video, and I wanted to just give Jasmine a chance to ask a question if she wanted to. I'm trying to oh, there we go. I just muted her again. Okay. Jasmine, can you hear us? And are you interested in asking a question?
Yeah, I've just been muted. I have a puppy and it's Zoomies time, so he's been running around barking. I don't necessarily have a question. I guess maybe I do, but I feel like, again, like you said, I feel like I know the answer. So it's hard and maybe it's very common, but this dog that I have is my first puppy. And he's been really awesome. But just the last couple weeks, since he's been done teething, he eats once a day or so. There's times that I get him to eat his 2 meals. But it seems like most days there he is. He just either isn't interested or, you know, it's like, I don't want to do it when you want me to eat. I'll come back later and have it later. So I don't know if that's just a very normal puppy thing or if it's a leftover from teething.
Do you free feed him, Jasmine, or do you feed him at meal times?
So we've been free feeding him a lot. I've just recently started switching to taking it from him, so he knows this is your one shot. Let's do this. Because I really want to, know when he goes potty. So I keep up on that as well.
I think that's a very good idea, just like dog trainer wise, to schedule his meals and take it up when he doesn't eat. I think that's a good structure. It will make the potty training much easier. But let's ask him what he has to say. What's his name?
Yoshi.
Yoshi?
Yep.
So my kitty's about to tear my little background down here. When it comes tumbling down, then I guess we have a little help. So Yoshi, let's ask why you don't eat as much as Jasmine thinks you should. Would that be correct, Jasmine?
I think so. I've read they usually eat 3 times a day as puppies, and certainly doesn't do that.
Okay. Let's ask him if, how about let's just start with this. Do you like your food, Yoshi? I'm not getting a super duper excited feeling from that.
Right.
How about anybody else?
No, I gotta know.
I have the feeling he doesn't like the food.
Yeah.
Have you tried anything different, Jasmine, or just the one kind?
So because I've been wanting him to eat at certain times, I've been mixing his food with wet food.
Oh, so he's been kind.
Yeah. And it seems like he really liked that idea at first. And at first I tried a bunch of different things to see what he liked. But now that I'm buying the same of things, he's like, no, I had Thanksgiving dinner yesterday. I don't really want it today. So I don't know if that's what it is. He had all this variety, and all of a sudden it's like, you want me to eat one thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that's worth considering. If that's what you're thinking, that could very well be what he's saying. And how would you like it if every single day we had Campbell's tomato soup?
Right.
Have more Campbell's soup and more Campbell's soup, more Campbell's soup. After
Right.
a week, you'd be like, I'm not eating this. I want something different.
Exactly.
So if you're thinking that's what's going on, maybe that's what's going on. And that it's as simple as that. Like, maybe he wants a little more variety. And I know that some dog food advertisements will say, you know, don't ever switch their food, always stay with the same thing. I personally use the same kind of food, but a lot of different proteins.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has some different ideas, but I think I think like an animal. And I think that's why I've been successful with rescue things. And some of that stuff is I try to think like them. And this one's really easy. Like, do you really think I want Thanksgiving dinner type food every single day?
Right.
And so you could possibly stay within the same brand if they have different flavors within that brand. Is that an idea?
That is kind of what I've been doing. So I found like the 3 he seemed to really like, and I'll buy those 3. And, you know, when we finish one can, we go to the next. But I don't know. It seems like he also just wants a fresh can. After it's been in the fridge, he's like, I don't know.
Maybe it's too cold for him.
That could be. I microwave it every once in a while, but I have a hard time finding the right key. And the other frustrating thing is he seems to eat when my husband feeds him.
Oh.
So I think the other thing might be, you know, this is mom, she's fun, we do whatever, but with dad, we do what we're supposed to.
Yep. So how many people have seen kids that do that, you know?
Yeah.
They're not with one parent, then they behave with the other.
Mm-hmm.
So did everybody kind of get that he didn't like the food?
Yes.
Do you think it'd be worth trying a different kind, Jasmine? A whole different brand?
Yeah, probably. And it could be his bag of food too. I had to buy it off of Amazon because I didn't transition him quick enough.
Oh,
So I'm wondering if it's not maybe a little bit stale or, oh, there's just so many variables.
I do get that he's not crazy about the food. And so what I'm hearing from him is to possibly try a different kind.
Yeah.
But I also know that animals will work us and they will try to teach us that, you know, I want something different every single day all the time. And I'm sure that at home, none of us are able to do that. Like sometimes we eat goulash every day for several days. That's how it is.
Right.
Right.
So just keep listening to him and try to feel what he might want. As long as he's not having stomach upset or, I mean, maybe he knows he doesn't need quite as much as you think he needs. That's always a possibility too.
That could be.
Thank you for your question,
Yeah,
Jasmine.
thank you.
Hopefully
So
that
thank
helps.
you.
So we have just, let's say about 13 more minutes. Is there anything, I have a question, unless unless someone has like a really pressing question. I wanted to ask about the barn cat that we have at the farm. When the horses were in the barn, I learned that we had a kitty cat there. So I started to leave food and the water and making sure that their water wouldn't freeze. And I've only seen the kitty twice. It's like a gray kind of tortoiseshell, and it's always running for its life, really scared whenever I, spook it. And so I'd like to know if there's a way to tell if it's a male or female, if it's gonna have baby kitties this spring, I hope. But I also wanted to know that it's welcome. And I feel like I've been, doing that communication, letting the kitty know that it's loved and appreciated and cared about. And I sat there beside the food bowl for a really long time and meditated and tried to communicate that. But if you can tell if it's a female or a male. I'm praying for a female that's pregnant.
That doesn't happen very often. Usually people have plenty and don't want more. But so let's all take a minute and try to connect with this body. Does anybody get a sense of what sex it is?
I got male.
I got male too.
Sorry, I got boy.
Lorie, what'd you get?
I actually got female.
Oh!
Kitty's fooling us.
I guess we'll see. The fact that everybody got male is interesting. And it's just like we talked about the corgi saying they're like a greyhound, so we can have masculine and feminine energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be a little bit confusing in communication. Oh, my little cats are not helping. And so I get that it's a female. We'll see. Lisa will have to get back to us and let us know how it turns out, because if it is a female, you're probably going to have kittens very soon.
Oh, I hope so.
I mean, if
What?
it's old enough, it might not have kittens till fall if it's not old enough. But
Did you say tortie?
Yeah.
Is it a tortoise still? Oh, then it's a girl.
it is a tortie. I thought you said a tabby.
Well, it's got stripes.
Okay. Stripes would be a tabby, and
Yeah.
more like black and yellow and gray kind of mixed together would be like splotchy would be a tortie cat.
Yeah, not a tortoise. Not a
Okay, so it actually has stripes. So it could be 50-50 male or female then. But like Tandem said, a calico or a tortie is always a female. It's very, very rare to have a tortie male. Torties are almost always females, and calicos are always females.
Yeah.
So that didn't really help us.
Well,
I
you
feel
get the feeling there's more than one cat.
that could be.
Oh.
There were all of these little burrow spots in the hay that we would feed, when you put it out and you open the bale, and there's all these like bedded down spots that are like so. And I'm like, what if there's like a whole bunch of cats here? What is it that's laying and sleeping in in the hay? There's like multiple beds.
You might already have a whole litter.
That's right.
And, if they look similar, you might think you're seeing the same cat over and over, but there's actually more.
That could be. How interesting.
I think we need to come have a barn watch and figure this out.
I've been wanting to put a cam out there. It's like, I really want to know, what is it that's sleeping?
That will tell you, put a cat on the dish and you'll get to find out.
Yeah, I'd like to. So, well, does anyone have any other questions? We only have about 8 more minutes.
I have one question.
Right.
Do you think that we will be reunited with our beloved pets eventually? Or is that just like pie in the sky? I mean, there's no proof, but I would love to be back with my Heidi poodle someday.
I say yes and yes. I say yes, we will be reunited, and yes, we already are reunited.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I feel like their spirits stay with us. And, as we age, especially those of us that have multiple animals, then our world gets fuller and fuller and fuller as they pass on. But I do believe they stay with us. I believe I still have animals from when I was a little kid that they're here with me. Maybe not all day, every day, but they pop in and out when I need them. And so I think yes.
Because my Heidi poodle was a therapy dog, and she came to work with me, and we lived together, we worked together, and when she died, it was like part of me died. But
I have read stories about people who've had past life experiences, or not past life, near-death experiences, where they went back and they were greeted by all of the pets that they ever loved,
Oh, thank
and
God.
more and in fact, there were people trying to get to him too that they recognized, but they couldn't get there because the animals were just crowded around. And it's all the animals for not just this lifetime, but all of your lifetimes, all of them.
Oh, wonderful.
Huge
Thank you.
welcome, and all of them are just trying. They're so excited to get to you, and it's like really beautiful.
Great. Thank you.
Do you feel her presence now, even though she's passed on? Do you still feel?
I do. It's like, it's so strange.
It's not strange at all. That's not strange at all.
That's just love. They're
And
here.
it's good to talk to her. It's good to feel her. It's good to tell her that you know she's here. When you feel her in a room with you, tell her that you know she's here and she's welcome and you love having her visit.
Okay, I will, because I do.
Good. It's very comforting to me, the ones that I've lost that come back and check in with me from time to time, and certain lessons that I've forgotten that they come back and go, remember, we went through this once before and I thought you got it, but I guess you don't. So I think they do that, come back when we need them.
Lorie, can I ask you about one? This is just reminding me of a kitty, and there's sort of some unfinished business I had with my very first kitty. He was a Siamese cat. He was named Snoopy by me. And he was my only friend because I'm an only child and I was very little, and we had him since I was born. And he slept on my pillow with me, and I remember just endless hours with him, and we would talk to each other. And one day he got locked into my parents' bedroom and took a crap on the bed. Dad was quite angry and insisted that they get rid of the cat. And I didn't know that this is what they chose to do. What I remember, I was about 4, I think, and these very nice people came to the house, and I was very social, and I loved visiting with them, and I was all, and they only stayed for a little bit, a few minutes, and then they left. And when they left, Snoopy ran out the door, and I was like, Snoopy, and he never came back. And so I thought that he had run away. And all my life, I thought he didn't love me and that he ran away and stayed away. And I've processed and dealt with that, actually. But I wonder what he thought. And apparently these people lived on a farm, and they took him to be with them and live out his life on a farm, which was probably great for him. But we had just such a connection. And I wonder if there's any way that you could connect with Snoopy, and if there's any message that he could know that I missed him, and it wasn't my decision. And I want to know, I guess, if he was happy on the farm.
Oh, absolutely. We can ask him that.
Okay.
Okay, so the first thing he tells me is that when this happened, he was very upset because he thought he did something wrong, because he loved you and he liked being your kitty. Mm-hmm. And so when he was taken away, he thought he had done something wrong. But the people were very good to him, and in time he accepted his new life, and he never did. Let me take just another minute here. Yeah, he never felt like it was finished, like he didn't understand why he was taken away from you or why you weren't able to come see him. Mm-hmm. He still felt you feeling him, and he missed you also. But he felt there was some reason for this, that he needed to just accept it and live where he lived. He was happy. He was cared for. It was not the same as when it was with you. Mm-hmm. He hears us now that it wasn't your choice, it wasn't your fault, it wasn't his fault. Mm-hmm. That the other people in the family made this decision. And he did take a long time to try to figure out, what did I do wrong? How come this happened? But in time it passed, and he just accepted his new life.
Well, I'm glad that he knows now that I didn't choose that because, gosh, it was just awful. And I didn't even know this until, honestly, a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was so angry with my parents. Oh, that they just
I
didn't.
think that's terribly sad when parents mean well, like, oh yeah, he ran away when really he died, or like whatever happened, you know. I don't have children, but if I did, I would always tell them the real truth because, you know, all these years you thought it was one way and now it was another. And you could have had more closure had they said, the kitty pooped on the bed, we can't have that. I mean, even though you know the real reason was he was shut in, he couldn't get out.
Mhm.
But it's very sad when a kid grows up and not knowing what really happened, and especially later when they find out. I mean,
Yeah.
you felt betrayed also, I'm sure.
Very
When
much
you did
so.
find out, yeah.
Mhm.
But you and Snoopy can have some closure now
Good.
that it wasn't your plan or your wish, that you wanted to stay together with him. And I do feel like he missed you, but he also accepted his new life and was okay.
Good. Well, I did intuitively sort of feel that, you know, eventually he became adjusted, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
Farm
Accept-
life isn't so bad, you know.
Yeah, yeah. He definitely didn't suffer. He didn't have a terrible life, and he wasn't out in the cold, miserable. I think he was cared for, and I think loved, not the same as he was loved with you, but I get a feeling that his life was whole and complete. He didn't suffer.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
and
glad.
I think it's good to keep talking to him and keep telling him, man, I missed you so much. I didn't know. I thought you ran away, and I thought you didn't love me, you know, and you can reconnect with him and both heal those wounds, you and him both.
Yeah, I will do that. Well, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Lorie, this was such a blast. And I think all of us had such a nice time together learning about how we can communicate with our animals. And I hope everybody will take to heart those suggestions that you gave us about how to maintain this connection and even deepen our ability to communicate with our animals. So I'll just sort of leave it here and thank all of you. Lorie, is there
Thank
any
you,
final
Lisa.
words?
Thank you, Lorie.
Yeah, let's
Thank you,
everybody,
Lisa.
yeah, anybody wants to
Thank
say
you.
something? Yeah. I want to invite all of you to my next week's show. I'll be interviewing my dear friend Alex Jenkins, and she does shadow work and has created a program a manual where you can take yourself through a work to work on your shadow. And it's a fascinating spiritual practice and very deep healing. And she's an incredibly compassionate and wise guide. So we'll be talking to Alex next week. So
Thank you so much, Lisa. This was wonderful. Thank you, Lorie. It was just very good.
Well,
From
thank you everybody for joining. I really enjoyed it too.
Great, thank you.
well, we'll have you on again, Lorie. I bet you we could have lots of these. So if you're game, we'll do another one sometime.
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I loved it. And you can see how much you can do this. It's not just for a few chosen ones at all. Everybody can do this. And the more you love your animal, I think the easier it is. But every single one of you did a great job too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lorie.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
You
Thank
too.
you all.
Bye-bye.
Lisa and friends over and out.